A very good morning. In the previous lecture, we have seen what are the different types of research, followed with basic assumptions of research, then how to formulate a research problem. Now, let us look at what are the quality of good research worker, what is the quality of good research, and what are the research ethics that we need to have. I'll be also touching briefly on what is plagiarism and how to avoid plagiarism. So, what are the quality of good research? The quality of good scientific research starts with a very good purpose. You need to have a great purpose in your mind, a definite purpose that will serve the local community, that will serve the scientific community, that will serve the nation, and that will serve the world. So have a very good purpose. Uh, your research should have a very good strength in terms of scientific information and methodological design. Your work should be reliable, meaning it can or it should be testable. It should have the quality of testability and replicability. If your work is very scientific, if your work is rigor, have followed a very scientific methodological design, then your work should be replicable, should be testable with any other's work. If someone is trying to repeat your work, the answer that he or she gets should be mostly similar to what your research usually finds out. So keep this in mind. The research should also be very valid, meaning it should be very precise and have very huge confidence interval, and the closeness of finding to reality and probability that estimations are correct. So you need to take care to have your scientific research as a very good quality research. Validity, yes, and objectivity. Please draw your conclusion very precisely, very clearly, with the facts that came from your actual data, from your actual research. So please take care of that in your mind. Generalizability is again one aspect. Your research, though, for example, yesterday or the previous sessions, we have dealt with a research problem where, example, we took as lichens diversity and distribution in Wangdi district. Now let us again take lichens diversity and distribution in Wangdi district. So generalizability of the research on lichen is that the kind of methods, the kind of research design that is being taken to study the lichen diversity distribution has to be repeated, has to be in such that it can be repeated in other district also, in other places also, and other places should also find similar findings that you find from your lichen search in one different district. And lastly, should be having character of parsimony, meaning your research should be very simple and clear in order to explain the phenomenon and problem very clearly, so that readers will understand what you're trying to explain. So these are the basic characteristics of good scientific research. Another very important characteristic of scientific research is that it has to be very creative, and research is one thing that really needs a creativity. A good research is uh, differentiated from a bad research or a simple moderate research by a thin line, and that line is creativity. The more creative that you are, the more creativity that you put into your research process, the better the research project or the research paper comes out. So research requires at least works best with imagination, initiative, intuition, and curiosity. Meaning, whatever is written in your proposal, whatever you have actually thought and designed, you need to again work closely with those mental map that you already made. But again, if you can put creativity throughout your research project, then the kind of results that you will get from your research will immensely change. So there are many ways that you can have creativity and research. Few of the methods of many are: you can gather uh, and use previously developed knowledge to generate creativity. You can exchange ideas among your friends, your colleagues. You can exchange ideas with your supervisors, your seniors, your relatives, your parents. Who knows? They may have great ideas to put into your research. You can apply deductive logic. Look at the things through alternative ways. um, Question or challenge assumptions. So whatever assumptions that you have made earlier, you can question, and uh, you can challenge these assumptions to change a little bit so that it becomes a little bit creative. You can search for patterns or relationship to draw more conclusion in a creative way. You can take risk, cultivate tolerance for uncertainty, allow curiosity to grow. So I'll get back to number G again. Risk is one thing that is really important, not only for research but anything. If you want to be creative, you have to take risks. So please take risks. We have dealt this clearly with the entrepreneur model that we took last time. So risk is one thing that you need to take when you're doing research. So for example, uh, if you really want to find lichen diversity in Wangdi Fodong area, why not be creative to find lichen diversity not just in altitudinal gradient but some of the habitats, by taking some risks and just to find out some more things about lichens. You can put in lots of creativity through risks here. And one of the risks that I would like to share is that one of the risks that I would like to share is that uh, currently one of the students who is working with me in fourth year, he's working on turtle and tortoise diversity in one of the study area in Bhutan. Um, we took a risk to study turtle diversity and turtle tortoise diversity in that place, and the risk was that um, though we just get 3 months to collect the data, turtles may or may not come during that 3 months period. So the 3 month period is from December, January, and February, and that's the winter months where reptiles, amphibians are quite not familiar with the cold temperature. So it takes at least like till April, May to come out, and the risk was that to study besides the constraint of the seasons, and if you get the diversity of turtle and tortoise during those times, then the research paper is going to be very good. The thesis is going to be very good. But if we are not getting, then again, that's another thing. So let's take risks sometimes in doing research also. So we may have to, you can increase the creativity of, increase the efficiency and increase the productivity of research process. Allow curiosity to grow, set problems aside and come back to them, write down your thoughts continuously. So it's not just keeping your thoughts in your mind or brain. Please write the thoughts down on the paper so that it becomes clear what you're thinking. And uh, when you are having creativity, when you are thinking about creativity, please free yourself from distraction so that you get some time to think. These are the ways how to um, be creative and how to infuse creativity in research process. uh, And now let us look at some of the ethical issues that are there in research. And again, through different literatures and materials, both in hard and soft copies, I found out that uh, ethics in research are at three levels. One is at the level of the participants, one is at the level of the research itself, and the one is at the level of the agencies who are sponsoring the or who are funding the research. So at three level, one is at participants level, second is at researchers own level, and third is at sponsoring or financing or funding agencies level. So let us look at one by one. At the participants level, we have got ethical considerations to make, like when we are collecting information, try to at least have informed consent before going for the collection of data. At least inform the participants that you're coming, so that it's not an ad hoc for them, because most of the participants may be school going, maybe office going, or if they are farmer, then they must be having lots of farming activities to do. So please inform them, because if you are going without informing them, then the kind of data that you'll be getting because of their ad hoc schedule may really hamper, and it's going to be unethical on your side. So informed consent is very important. Seeking consent when you are actually interviewing or actually asking to them is again very important. If you're not seeking any consent, that's unethical for you. Providing incentive, uh, providing incentive is unethical uh, for them as well as on you, because it's not good for you to provide incentives towards the start of the research, because the kind of answer that they may provide to you may differ with or without incentives. So it's unethical for you to give incentives to each and every participant, because the results may change, or uh, the kind of answers that they give may again depend on the incentives. So be very clear whether you are providing incentive or not. And yes, it's very important to be very clear. Incentive like doma and few gifts can be given towards the end of the research. Yes, that's acceptable, but please do not give towards the beginning of the research. That's an unethical thing. Another thing is that seeking sensitive information is quite unethical, because if they do not want to give sensitive and private information, do not force them to give to you. So let us just uh, understand that one clearly again. The possibility of causing harm to participants. You do not have to cause physical harm to the participants. If you're causing, that's unethical. But your questions, your statements, your awareness programs can cause harm to the participants directly or indirectly. So take care. See the loopholes where you're causing harm to your participants. So very important aspect of research again. So maintaining confidentiality is again a very important part. If they feel that their identity should remain anonymous, then it's very important that you make that confidential. So that's again on research participants again. On the sides of ethical issues of the researchers, you have biases. You have unethical issues like introducing bias. So you may introduce bias when you are choosing participants, or you're choosing your field, when you're choosing study area, when you're choosing specimens and samples. So please try to be as far as possible unbiased, because uh, your research design starts with a random sampling, uh, and when you go to field, suddenly you pick up convenience sampling and systematic sampling, then that's not going to be good on the part of the research. So please do not have any kind of bias from your side. Providing and depriving individuals of treatment. So, for example, if your research is mainly on interventional method or experimental method, where you need to have treatment and intervention to your participants or your fields or your city area or your samples, um, not giving uh, timely and quality um, treatment to your samples or participants is again unethical. So if you have to give treatment, you have to give a timely treatment, equal treatment, a quality treatment to make that research ethical. Then using unacceptable research methodologies, again another uh, another unethical issues that can arise from researcher side. For example, if you're doing a social research, qualitative research, where you need to select a few number of participants from a village. Let's say working on a village, and if you're selecting uh, only very few number of participants which are less than the actual samples that you need to collect, then the kind of results that you draw from the research is quite unacceptable, because the samples were less. And where you need to apply random sampling, but you applied systematic sampling, again that's a wrong methodology. So again, an unethical issue on researcher's side. So again, there are lots of unethical issues on research methodology by researcher's side. Please take care of all those unethical issues. Inaccurate reporting. Sometimes you collect the data very well through very good research methods, but at last, whatever data that you get is reported through inaccurate data analysis. For example, for two variables to look at the association, we have to do correlation, but instead of correlation, you look at regression, and now you are reporting results wrongly, because instead of looking at the association, you are looking at the prediction of one variable from another variable. Instead of using parametric test, you are using non-parametric test, and you're reporting the results inappropriately. So again, take care of reporting the results accurately. And lastly, from a researcher side, the inappropriate use of information. So if you are not to use certain information that you do not have to use in your research, please do not use any information that is non-usable. Just use only those appropriate research data results and information that is relevant to your uh, research. So if you are using inappropriate information, then that's again unethical. And at last, the kind of ethical issues arise is from the sponsoring agency side or funding agency side. Some of the funding agencies, uh, they fund your research projects, and they give their own research designs. They give their own methodologies. Like, they, even if you want to do random sampling, they want you to do systematic sampling. Even if you want to take around 300 samples from the population, they want you to take around 450. So though your research method is very clear and correct, but the kind of restriction that they impose on your research, because they have funded you, is again unethical on the sponsoring agency side. So we need to take care on that. Sometimes uh, sponsoring agencies, they sponsor research, they get some they make students to do research, they make other people to do research, and the information that they get from the research is not for the application to the real life society to bring some changes, but it's just for their management issues. Uh, for example, an agency is having nil from 500,000 balance in their account, which they have to finish by the end of this year, and they do not know how to finish that money. And if they do not finish that money, again, audit people, anti-corruption people will caution them that why they didn't finish this money on time, why they were not using this money, because when they have not used the money that they were allocated with. Sometimes this money will go back to the government or the parent organization who were funding them, and this money uh, not just goes back, but in next financial year, people or the government may not give that sponsoring agency the money, because they may think that the previous year they had given more. Because of that, like 5 to 6 lakhs were written back to government. So they have to finish the money by any means, and they sponsor you with sponsor you for the research, and you do the research and you provide the information on like and diversity and distribution to them. And what they do not reach out to the scientific community that they have to reach, but they just want to prove to the Royal Audit Authority and Anti-Corruption Commission that yes, we have spent that to one of the students, and the student had done this one. So yes, this is the result of that neutron 500,000. They just want to prove that they have used, and no action at all. So just a management issue, and they are actually misusing the information. So again, we need to take care of those kind of things. So these are three broad ways where ethical issues are, or ethical issues can be classified. So you can read it again and again; it will make sense to you. The last one, the last slide on the unit 2 is on plagiarism. I'll not deal much on the plagiarism because you have worked with plagiarism again and again. Plagiarism is not just copy and paste like most of the people they think. It's very illegal act. It's stealing and passing off. It's like going to a jewelry shop and stealing a jewelry. So the kind of punishment that you get is much more than stealing jewelry from jewelry shop. So please be careful. It's stealing. It's using another's work without crediting the source. It's committing literary theft. It's like presenting someone's original work or someone's new work as if it's your own work. So you're not crediting that one. So in other words, it's an act of fraud, stealing someone's work and still lying about that stealing, and that's all with plagiarism. How can you avoid plagiarism? The only best way that you can do as a student is give a proper credit, meaning proper citation to the material that you have used. So please give proper citation wherever you have used. And not only that, if you have used one line from that author's work, paraphrase that work and give in-text citation. But if you have directly used that one line from that author's work, at least put in double inverted comma, then cite that line with in-text citation, and at last give the proper reference. So that's it on ethical issues and plagiarism.